we're back here again with the StarCraft 2 World Championship Series in Montreal, Canada, as we get into our second quarterfinal match. There's a whole lot of StarCraft left to be played today, but if you missed the first match, you better open up another tab of this stream and go back. Watch both at the same time, because let's be real, you don't want to miss what's going to happen next. I'm Nathaniel, joined in the desk by Zombie Grub and Pig. As we get into our next series, some juicy PvZ. How good was that Scarlet Serral match?
What a way to start the day, right? I mean, you wouldn't have it any other way. Just a nice close match, back and forth, and yeah, I mean, that's just down to the wire.
Now, you're a big fan of Scarlet. Jessica, how did you enjoy that ZvZ series?
Well, it was kind of as expected. It was once again one of those things where, like, even if Scarlet did win, she would have given everyone a heart attack multiple times. But it's not disappointing to lose to Serral. It's not disappointing to get round of 8s once again. It just is like, man, if she beat Serral, she probably would have gone to BlizzCon.
Yep, that's the hopes for Scarlet. Unfortunately, on the line there with that match against Serral. But moving on, since he has made his way into the semifinals, we're going to be looking at Lambo and ShoWTimE, 2 players that are going up against him. Let's talk about Lambo first. Had that semifinal finish and lost after going up 2 maps to Serral in WCS Europe Challenger, but he's looked strong here so far.
He's been looking really good. He's been coming out with that trademark confidence, but his Zerg vs. Zerg especially, we've seen him, you know, just on fire, right? Absolutely crushed through against Zanster here. But he's very good in ZvP as well. Recently, he's just kind of ascended to a new level. The Korean practice, I think, paying off as well. I feel like this is definitely Lambo's moment after a disappointing Valencia. He's still got his hopes for BlizzCon alive. There's a lot on the line for him.
ShoWTimE practicing in Korea. A lot of people have been hyped up about him. I think this is his big moment, Zombie Grub, to show that it's been paying off.
It's kind of, I'm kind of on board the Lambo train a little bit, but I'm going to talk about ShoWTimE's potential. Unfortunately, his Korean training, as he even said, like, it wasn't really about, you know, adapting to PvZ, and then the European Zergs would be different anyways.
Right.
So that's definitely worrying, but I feel like he is just ultimately a solid player. That's why he's one of my favorite Protoss players. You can't really critique him too much. So he could take down Lambo, but Lambo is like, he's full of confidence. He's on fire. I think he's got it.
All right, let's see the players now coming out onto the stage. Smix, ready to get us into our second quarterfinal?
Indeed, it is going to be a German showdown to see which of these 2 players will move on to play Serral. Let's bring them out. It is Lambo and ShoWTimE.
A lot at stake here. 2 players very well performing in WCS. Lambo, though, wants to get to the global finals. Number 9 right now. He has the opportunity if he can take down his fellow countrymen. Both of these players, though, must be really proud. You know, Germany performing well here in WCS Montreal.
Yeah, they're not just good at football. They're pretty good at StarCraft as well.
You can't say that. You know what today is, Pig?
I don't think they're the National Football League, Pig.
We're talking. Today's a different football day, okay? Today's a one day you don't get to say that. All right, Jessica, tell me something more interesting than what he said.
Oh, okay. Germany's great. Yeah, I'm sorry. In Control probably could talk more about Germany.
I was just fishing for a compliment for all the Euro Bros tuning in. We appreciate all of you guys.
There it is.
But yeah, and it's a great performance for either of them. ShoWTimE, of course, is already locked in for the global finals. For him, it's the pride on the line, getting as far as he possibly can. For Lambo, everything is on the line.
You know, it's been interesting. Lambo's looked super decisive so far this tournament. He's just kind of been cleaving his way through his opponents. Just, you know, rips their arms out of the sockets, throws them to the side. ShoWTimE's been very, very close on the other hand. Like, ShoWTimE's been struggling in some of his matches. You know, he lost his first match on the big stage at the start of the tournament on day 1. But he's been building up a little bit more momentum and I think looking better with each series. So I kind of feel like you've got ShoWTimE, we call him The Wall, you know, Dimala is his nickname. And it's very much like Lambo is this guy who's been good for a while, but is a little bit less consistent. So it's kind of the opposite of what I would have expected. I would have expected ShoWTimE to come in and crush his opponents, but it's been the opposite of that. So for me, I definitely think Lambo has got his best shot at taking down ShoWTimE here than he would have had a year ago. I would have said ShoWTimE 100% takes it out.
I agree with that, yeah. I don't think ShoWTimE is so much the wall anymore, so Lambo, I believe he's going to take it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get into our second quarterfinal here. You're watching the World Championship Series. It's time for Lambo versus ShoWTimE.
What's up, everybody? In control in Rotterdam here for this Zerg versus Protoss, and we've got a doozy of one. It's Lambo versus ShoWTimE, 2 players having a fantastic tournament. They're saying ShoWTimE's not the wall? What? He's still the wall. Absolutely he is. We'll talk about him in a second. At the top right-hand side, from Germany, it's the blue Zerg Lambo. A successful experiment from a laser. They actually successfully cloned a laser into a smaller German body.
In the left bottom side, we've got the last Protoss of this tournament. He's still the wall, guys. It's ShoWTimE. What if he's the Protoss wall?
Oh, wow. The force field wall. Should be a good match. Lambo, I do like what they were saying. Lambo has been crushing, and I want to say he's been quietly one of the best European players, but it's not truly quiet. It's just, it is like that quote-unquote inconsistent, I guess, but inconsistent in the sense of like the highest achievements. He's still qualifying for Challenger. He's still doing really well. It's just he had an amazing Austin.
I mean, it's kind of funny because when you call him inconsistent, what you're basically saying is that he has one bad tournament since he had his great tournament. And that was Valencia, of course. But besides Valencia, he has been the opposite of inconsistent because he was great at Home Story Cup. He was the best non-Korean at that event. He made it very deep into Challenger, even gave Saror a good run for his money. But I really like what Pig said, and I think that's the key word to describe Lambo. He is decisive. He is not the Zerg that drags out games. He's not the most passive, aggressive Zerg that goes up too high and tries to hit with Brood Lords. No, Lambo often gears up for one attack and he wants to win the game with those attacks. And that's why I'm not surprised at all by the map vetoes. Real quick, want to touch upon that. ShoWTimE vetoed Fracture, the smallest map in the map pool. Makes a lot of sense against a very aggressive Zerg like Lambo. And Lambo vetoed Parasite, the biggest map in the map pool, which also makes a lot of sense to me because he wants to hit those attacks that hit quick and very hard.
Yeah, their team clash has a lot of these Zergs that kind of fancy that style of mid-game aggression. Very decisive is the word you use, and I agree with that. You don't see a lot of late games out of these guys, and it's not to say that they can't go there. They're not very good or something like that. They just kind of feel that the strength of Zerg is realized in that middle part of the game. So ShoWTimE, it's going to be interesting. Can we see him get it to the late game? I don't see him ending it too much faster than that. It might be the kind of thing where like Lambo tries some aggression, it doesn't really work out, and then the game ends, but I doubt it's any kind of ShoWTimE timing attack that'll close out this match early. And he's going to go with that Stargate. Expect a lot of that this series. We did see Neeb last night shaking it up against Raynor. ShoWTimE's not as much that kind of a player. He's not going to do the same thing every game, but it's like variations and shades of similar things.
Yeah, I can see ShoWTimE maybe squeeze in a double Stargate play once this series, but no more than that. I'm with you, Jeff. I think the key unit for ShoWTimE throughout this series is going to be the Warp Prism. Now, that's nothing new for Protoss, but especially against someone like Lambo, who wants to go for those crazy, hard-hitting mid-game attacks. A Warp Prism is everything, because that forces him to keep units on his side of the map. That makes those attacks weaker. I feel any game that ShoWTimE gets 4 bases up and running, and let's say he's got 4 Archon Storm and 4+ Immortals, I really, really like ShoWTimE in those scenarios, but it's damn hard to get there against someone as aggressive as Lambo.
And what's fun about that, too, is it's a cool a fight between these guys, because I absolutely agree with you. ShoWTimE's very strong there, but Lambo, and again, to mention it once more, Elazer, his kind of a partner in crime, the two of them are very strong at that stage as well. Even facing that composition that otherwise gives other Zergs a lot of issues, they can still get results there. So it's not like if it gets to that stage, ShoWTimE just auto wins. Lambo is one of those unique Zergs that is so strong at that phase, can still overcome it. Now, it is going to be a second Oracle showing up, but that's a little bit of a variation we haven't seen as much of. 2 of them, of course, can dive on a mineral line and kind of ignore the Queen and Spore Crawler a little bit.
Small thing that I like there is that he puts the Oracle with high HP in the front. It means it's always going to tank the first shot of the Spore Crawler, but now the extra Queen comes in there as well. Lambo's paying attention to everything that's happening, not really taking any damage yet. ShoWTimE goes up to 6 gateways. That's the middle down the road, kind of. You know, the very defensive version is just 4 gates. You put a couple of Archons in a Warp Prism, and you try to take the game from there. Sometimes Protoss players go crazy with 8, but 6 is middle down the road. It's like, hey, if you move out, you leave nothing at home, I can destroy everything with 6 Zealots and maybe an Archon, but at the same time, you know, this is not an all-in by any means.
Yeah, I also feel like against Lambo, you do want those kind of middling number of gateways as you're planning on taking your third, because just an overwhelming number of units can show up, and if you only have the 4 gateways behind that, 1 missed micro, and you're in a lot of trouble.
Very clean macro so far by Lambo. He's already at 59 drones. This is when he's going to fire up his first roaches. Of course, he's going to need those roaches to deal with the warp prism and the Archons that we're expecting to be warped in soon. And of course, there is that potential for a couple of Zealots as well as charges on the way, but it's only halfway done. So as always, it's going to start off with this Archon arrest. And for Lambo here, it's just key to make sure he doesn't end up losing 2 or 3 queens. That would be very sloppy. Don't want to lose any roaches because they have too much HP, and preferably no drones either.
I always like this style too because it's such a conundrum to that Zerg player where if you do move out a little bit too early, those 2 Archons get paired with 6 Zealots all of a sudden.
It's over.
You get in a lot of trouble. The Oracle can actually join in on this and do some stasis ward stuff or, you know, use its own damage output as well. So that's going to be something for Lambo to think about. He sees the Warp Prism, only gets an Overlord, but you got to keep in mind the war in between the lines, so to speak, that it is just an Overlord that dies, but now he knows there's a lot of stuff out there.
ShoWTimE has not been building probes for a while. Now, of course, the moment I start that sentence, he queues up 2 workers, but he's been building up quite a few Zealots at home, which I'm a little bit surprised by. I think what ShoWTimE is hoping for is that Lambo fires up like 10 more drones right now, but Lambo's not doing that. He fires up Hydras, and that's exactly what Lambo needs. He's going to see those Zealots down the side of the map. This is not going to be easy to deal with for Lambo, but he absolutely has the units to deal with it.
He's got the units to deal with it, but it's going to take a little bit of micro. They are charged lots, and they are going to have... No, they don't even have the +1 attack, actually. I kind of spoke too soon. He gets the cancellation on the 4th base, which is good because he's taking his own 3rd base. The armies kind of join up. They do get on top of the Zealots. Archon's looking to add their splash damage on top of this. Just a few Hydras out here. They're not super upgraded. A huge swath of Zealots are going to come in behind this, and if they can jump on top of that army, it could be a bit of a sandwich here.
Yeah, 1 Archon got picked off, though. I think Lambo is fine here, Jeff. He's got so many roaches. Roaches on creep are amazing against Zealots, and now ShoWTimE is forced to recall. I didn't like that fight at the 3rd base of Lambo. Lambo had a beautiful position with all of his roaches. Hydra's right behind it. The fight in the middle obviously went great, but ShoWTimE, I really think he was banking on the fact that Lambo would make 6, 7 safety roaches and then please make 10 more drones. Because if Lambo would have done that, those Zealots would have done a tremendous amount of damage. Right now, they really didn't get the work done that I think ShoWTimE was hoping for.
They did not. He's getting tripled in army supply right now. It's just the roaches. There's no Hydras out.
But this is Lambo. Like, he's not going to stop building units now, Jeff.
No.
He's going to be like, all right, a couple sentries. Well, let's just make sure I don't eat the biggest force fields of all time. Lambo, nothing but units. For the last 2 minutes in this game, he had 59 drones. He's only been making units ever since.
And here he comes. He's going to not give him the small opening at that ramp to be force fielded off. Well, there's just a 1 Ravage we can see up there, so actually the ability to crush force fields is fairly minimal.
This army is so big of Lambo. I don't know. ShoWTimE needs a miraculous hold here. We call him the wall. Well, he needs to be the wall here, Jeff.
He's going to need to be the wall, have a wall.
Absorb the wall.
And use it. And here we go. That 1 Ravage is going to crush those 2 force fields. And the force fields are depleted. The DPS is just simply not there. I think Lambo's going to clamp down on this and take the first game as he's got such a massive army supply advantage. The shield batteries will never come into fruition. This army is going down fairly quick. Nice micro here by ShoWTimE, but I don't think it's enough. 70 supply advantage for Lambo, and he's not looking back.
No, ShoWTimE simply lost a few too many Zealots on the other side of the map, and Lambo being decisive, guys. That's the word that you're gonna use to describe this player. Once again, he makes units, runs to the other side of the map, and simply runs ShoWTimE over. GG, Lambo takes a 1-0 lead after lost and found. You know, I want to be a tiny bit critical there.
Yeah.
I don't mind squeezing in a heavy Zealot play like that once in a best of 5 against Lambo.
Sure.
But don't do it in game 1, because you know how Lambo likes to play. He doesn't rush up to 70+ drones.
Yeah.
He doesn't go into 82 drones after a couple of safety roaches. No, Lambo loves to make units. And even if this wasn't Lambo's plan at first, Lambo's not crazy. He's an expert in this matchup. And he's like, whoa, you made like 18 Zealots? All right, you lost most of them. I'm going to run to your side of the map. I'm going to win the game because I know you simply cannot have the numbers at home.
Yeah, I like the idea behind it. I have to agree with you on that. ShoWTimE does this thing that Liquid Mana, actually, another top-tier European Protoss player does, and that's just to walk the units you warped in at home, the Zealots, across the map, and then have kind of a 2-prong attack. He gets the cancellation at the 4th, but even then he's already seeing roaches kind of already coming out, and like you said, the profile for Lambo is such that you're probably not catching him at 75, 80 drones. You're probably catching him at between 50 and 60, like 60 being the aggressive side of that. And if that's the case, then those Zealots are kind of a bad match against the roaches. So even as the fight was happening, he got the sandwich like I talked about, but roaches are just so darn good against those Zealots, and as you pointed out, with 1 Immortal gone, the damage coming over their shoulder from that splash damage of the Archon, it becomes half of that, of course, and it's just not adding enough. The fight turned against him, and he came out of that fight, 19 army supply to like 78. it's a really bad spot to be in.
Yep, that's simply. I mean, roaches, people often say the supply is a little deceiving with roaches. That's true. But if you're doubling the army count, it's pretty good for Zerg, even with roaches, guys. These two have only played against each other once this year, and that was in the WCS Valencia qualifiers. I remember those games very well, very similar to what we just saw. Like, they had a game on the Redshift where it was just Lambo making queens and ravages of a very low economy running to the other side of the map. And I think ShoWTimE even sneaked out a tweet after that series, being like, I saw everything coming, I knew it was coming, still couldn't deal with it. And I think he threw in a cheeky XD as well, you know, just to describe...
Little XD in there?
Yeah, little XD, just to really show how he felt about those games.
It's like, are you laughing? Are you laughing or are you crying a little bit? Well, ShoWTimE is down 0-1 in this best of 5, but he's got time to adjust. And I think he can fall back on his strengths like you were talking about earlier as well. He's not known as the aggressor, trying to get a weird win there. Didn't work out. Lambo was ready, and Lambo was doing what Lambo does. So hopefully we'll see these players fall back on their strengths as we get into game number 2 here on Blue Shift. In the top right-hand side, it's the Blue Zerg from Germany, Lambo.
Very eager to make his second semi-finals ever in the WCS circuit. On the left bottom side of Blue Shift, we're looking at the main base of the man that's currently second in the point standings. He made it to the finals in Leipzig. It is ShoWTimE.
Really fun matchup. We talk about them both being German, but they're also just two players at the top of their game in that European scene. A lot of great Zergs, but Lambo has emerged as one of the best. And ShoWTimE has been doing it for a while. And kind of like we talked about at the analyst desk to start the day, ShoWTimE has had an awesome developmental year. He goes to Korea for 2 months, which is something he had not really done in the past, and comes out of it with some pretty strong play. But he specifically said he's not sure about his PVZ in particular. Over in Korea, the Zerg's struggling a little bit. In Europe, they're very strong. So it's kind of interesting to see those strengths challenged here as well. He was able to get revenge against Special in a very decisive win series for him, excuse me, to get to this point. But that's PVT, so we gotta see how he does in PVZ.
Yep, and when there simply aren't that many great Zergs in Korea at the moment, the very few that there are there, it's unlikely that they resemble the style of a Lambo. Like in Europe, there are multiple Lambos and Elazers. Of course, they're not as good as those two, but there are quite a few Zergs out there that are gonna give you practice against those kind of attacks. You know, you can't compare Lambo with a Dark. Skill-wise, obviously, maybe neither, but also just stylistically, how they play, it's just completely different. And I have a hard time believing that Rogue is slipping in those DMs of ShoWTimE, being like, hey, you want to squeeze in 7 games today? Like, I don't really see that happening either, Jeff. So I think what ShoWTimE said makes a lot of sense. That doesn't mean he has no shot in this series. No. I absolutely believe he does. But I would love to see a different approach than what we saw there in game 1, because Lambo is the type of Zerg who makes units anyway. You're just not going to catch him off guard like that.
Which does mean, though, that if ShoWTimE falls back on what he's good at, you can actually kind of beat Lambo by defending, which is a weird thing, right? Oftentimes, in those defensive battles, the war of attrition, they're expanding aggressively behind it. Their economy is huge. They show up with a big late game tech, kind of like Raynor and Neeb. We saw that happen quite a bit in that series. Lambo, not as much. Like you said, you were talking about this last game. It's been 2 solid minutes of him making roaches. If you go into an immortal wood chipper defensive position, you can come out of it so poorly that you have quote unquote lost the game. You don't leave, of course, but you're so far behind that you just lose from there.
Yeah, of course, to play devil's advocate real quick there, if you guys wonder, well, why did ShoWTimE do that anyway in the first place? There is a different style that I think he is worried about, where Lambo does make only a couple of safety roaches, plays polar opposite, goes very greedy. And I think that ShoWTimE is mostly worried about Lambo's lurker play. Lambo's pretty comfortable with the lurkers. I don't think he's worried about Broodlord timing, so to speak. But if you give Lambo too much freedom, there is a chance that he catches you off guard with 7, 8 lurkers. And sure, Immortal Archon is nice and all, but especially on a map like Lost and Found, where you have a lot of awkward choke points, a lot of high ground, low ground, if you get caught off guard by the lurkers and you don't have a proper answer against them, it can also be very scary. So I get what ShoWTimE tried to do. I just didn't really like it for the first game, but let's see what he does in game 2.
I'm going to pick off that Scouting Overlord again. It sees the gases being added at the natural. Behind this for us, we can see that there's not really a definitive tech path taking shape just yet, but there is that Robo. This is going to be that default play for ShoWTimE, and we kind of predicted this. Lambo's not going to mix things up too terribly much, at least that would be my assessment. So it's kind of on ShoWTimE to be like, okay, given I know what you're generally going to do, I'm going to try to respond to that. And he's going to scout out across the map with this Oracle.
That Spore Crawler is a tiny bit late if he goes for... Maybe he can actually have 1 second pick up the Queen with the Phoenix, and this Oracle might be able to get 2 or 3 drones. Nope, single drone it is.
Yeah, he misses on the queen, and actually that I didn't want to make a big deal of it, but with the 2 oracles in the game 1, he actually misclicked and hit the queen with that damage as well, and that's not the target he was going for. He was trying to click on the drones. That kind of stuff happens, but it's just worth mentioning. Even these guys who've been on these stages a lot of times, there are nerfs. This is the last WCS stop. It's a big deal.
There's no Spore Crawler in the natural, by the way, for Lambo, right? Can we just confirm that real quick?
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's usually the base that's not, like, you don't go there at all.
No, I get it, but it's still a little bit greedy, because if the Phoenix and the Oracle does go there...
I'll allow it, Kevin.
You'll allow it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
A little bit of greed, you know, it's okay.
I object. I hope that ShoWTimE analyzes the replay and is like, you only made 2 Spore Crawlers. Next game, he dives in and lifts the queen, kills 7 drones. Ha!
That'll show you, Scrooge McDuck. Well, Lambo's going to get away with it for now. Some Link's coming out here, but this has kind of been what ShoWTimE does. He tucks those 3 Adepts into the position where there's not a lot of surface area available. Templar Archive's going up behind this. We'll have to see if he ends up going double robo as well. That's something that's been lacking just a little bit. He only had the 1 robo last game. Of course, that might have been in part because he had to, you know, kind of emergency make units.
And he made an insane amount of Zealots. There's only so much that a Protoss can do, of course. You can't really make that many Zealots and then also double robo and build 2 Immortals at a time and go up to 3 bases. You have to choose a little bit, but I'm with you against someone who likes to make as many units as Lambo. I think it's always nice to have the double robo, even if he just goes into Hydras. Well, so what? It's not like Immortals are terrible against Hydras. No. As long as they're protected, they're pretty fine.
And Lurkers is going to be that big part of the composition you want. Now, the Spore Crawler is going to edge out that War Prism. There's 3 queens here already, so that doesn't want to stick around too long.
Look how fast that Infestation Pit is this game. And this time it is the double robo, Jeff. So we were onto something, but Lambo's switching it up a little bit here as well. This time he made his safety roaches, and he is indeed going up to 70 drones. Lambo just reading the series very well. He's like, highly doubt you're going to do the same thing as you did last game after it made you fall behind. Now, do you think he just fires up a hive immediately? Maybe for
a Swarm Host.
Yeah,
I'm feeling the Swarm Host a little bit.
You feeling it? I think hive. But
I'm feeling the Swarm Host. But I've been wrong.
There's no Hydra then.
Everything.
There's no Hydra then yet, so you could be onto something, Jeff.
Well, here comes kind of the fake-ish push. I can't imagine that's real. We've had some drones coming out behind this, and a 4th base being taken. So far, nothing, by the way. No hive, no Swarm Host. There's the Swarm Host.
Yeah, and well done. 9 of them. I mean, against double robo, it's obviously not bad. Now, for ShoWTimE, it's really important that he analyzes this as quickly as possible, that he scouts it, and that he can start outmaneuvering those Swarmos. Because as a Protoss player, the last thing you ever want to do is just sit on your side of the map and receive wave after wave, because that will never end well. You need to be positioning your army aggressively on the other side of the map. Makes, 15 Swarmos. Oh my goodness. ShoWTimE needs to scout this rather now than later.
Oh, geez. He's going to lose that Oracle bit now, too.
Don't turn around.
It's going to be really close. It just dies, and it does not scout out anything super meaningful.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, it's going to see it here. But, Kevin, it's kind of a medium-sized map. Do you like the Swarm? I mean, maybe it works overwhelmingly, but I'm just going to ask you ahead of time here.
I think it's brilliant, actually.
Okay, you like it a lot.
Considering how this game is played out, the double robo, ShoWTimE after what happened in game 1. A best of 5 is more than just an individual game, of course. You're telling a story throughout these games. I think it's brilliant what Lambo is doing here. ShoWTimE is now already sitting defensively on his side of the map. So what is he going to do? Is he just going to run to the other side after this wave? I don't think you can do that, because there are so many Swarmos, and you have to worry about all the roaches as well. I think, and he's not even using all of them at once. That's so smart. Lambo's playing brilliantly so far. I love it.
Very cool to see him mix it up and have some interesting ideas here. We'll have to see if it completely pans out. In theory, at least, it is very strong. I agree with Rotterdam on that one. Would love to see a Dark...
Dark Shrine.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, exactly. Right. I was like, I'd like to see a Dark Shrine. Well, okay. No kidding. The army's so small, though, for ShoWTimE, and this next wave is going to be tough. I think you don't save any larva here, or Locust, excuse me. They're going to pounce down on top of this army and start to get some real damage. Oh, no. Well, the Templar pickup is okay, as he does save, actually, I believe, all 4 of them. And he gets the wave early, so a really nice move. The problem becomes how long can he hold on? And it looks like Lambo's going to press in here.
This is still good for Lambo. Even if he ends up losing a bunch of roaches, who cares? They are only roaches. He's maxed out. He had the money for it anyway. Now there is so much less Storm available. He got a couple of Archons there as well.
Yeah.
This is a really good fight for Lambo, guys. Look at ShoWTimE's army supply. It's 45. It's
Look
nothing.
At ShoWTimE. He's shaking his head. He's got a smirk on his face. He knows this move was absolutely lethal. And this next wave's going to show up, and the best thing ShoWTimE could do is like buy time and get it early, but he's not even able to do that because his army is so small. And here come the Locusts.
If you're defending against Locusts like this, you need to not lose a single unit against every wave. That has not been the case. High Templars have gone down, Archons have gone down, the Immortals are probably going to fall here as well. And I think that Lambo is actually very close to just closing this game out.
Absolutely. This army is going to push forward here. The Immortals so far hanging on due to their positioning. Now going to be targeted a little bit here. Actually going to avoid a lot of that damage. Profile does clip one. But to Rotterdam's point, all damage right now is terrible because behind this is the 15-some-odd Swarm host for the next wave of Locusts.
I do love this from ShoWTimE. He has a Prism on the other side of the map. He barely has any units, but he's still like, if I'm only defending, I'm never going to win this game. So I need to get something done. He does have a mothership on the way as well.
I was just going to say, it's not bad at all. Now here comes the next wave. Storm's going to try to thin this out, but you can see them actually getting pre-spread here by Lambo. They're going to jump on top of those cannons.
This Nexus.
This range.
This Nexus is going to take an insane amount of damage against these Locusts, and I think will most likely fall unless Lambo misfires, but he does not. Gets an Immortal for his efforts there as well, I believe. I mean, still obviously really good. Is this Prism getting a lot done? Well, got a hatchery. That's a start.
It's not bad. My problem is it's an 80 supply army advantage for Lambo. He's only on 62 drones. He's actually technically down 2 workers and only on 3 bases. So if somehow this army of Swarmos can take some damage, then all of a sudden ShoWTimE could have some life. But how does he do it, Roddy?
Lambo goes for his army one more time, so he should be able to get a couple of expensive units here. He wants to get the High Templars, Jeff.
He's tucked into the corner. The Locusts are going to just jump on top of it. And there they go. They're pinching off the Immortals from the rest of the force. And they're doing so much damage. 1 Immortal dies, 2 Immortal dies, 3 die, and that's it. ShoWTimE taps out. 2-0 in favor of Lambo. And I feel like we were just introducing the series. And it sounds like we're about to wrap it up, Roddy.
That goes for most Lambo series, right? If he's feeling it, he doesn't like the 20-minute games. Brilliant, brilliant strategy, though. After how game number 1 played out, I really don't think Lambo could have done a lot better in this game. This time he did what ShoWTimE did not want him to do, and that's make a couple safety roaches and then just go into that 70 drone phase. And then obviously he kept the infestation pit hidden. The very first time ShoWTimE saw the Locust was when they were flying towards his army, and that is a terrible position to be in as a Protoss.
And I loved how Lambo set that up as well. He had the Queens aggressively spreading creep up the middle of the map.
Pretending,
so there was a lot of movement going back and forth. He was able to reinforce very quickly. It is a medium-sized map, so off of those 4 bases, basically when Lambo made units, they were at the front lines 2 blinks later. And it just felt like ShoWTimE had that strategy revealed to him, and by the time it was revealed to him, it was too late. He needed to have the Oracle see it inside the base. He needed a Warp Prism doing some form of harass, but again, Lambo did such a good job of spreading out Spore Crawlers, having Queens on the peripheral, and just saying, hey, you're not going to get in my base and see what's coming up behind this, and by doing that, ShoWTimE was caught completely off guard.
And I kind of love how you said it's a fake push, because that's really what it was, right? But Lambo's like, hey, you know me, I'm Lambo, I make a lot of units, so he shows 8, 10, 12 roaches in the middle, and ShoWTimE is like, okay, I need to keep an eye on that, so that obviously catches your attention as a Protoss. Then you see the Queens as well, you're like, okay, this is one of those weird builds where they run the Queens to the other side of the map. Nah, that was just pretending by Lambo. All that Lambo wanted was for ShoWTimE to keep busy on that center of the map while he's getting out his Swarmos, and then he just runs his Swarmos to the other side of the map, and ShoWTimE is like, oh, that is what is happening. Well, that's not good when I'm just sitting here, tucked in my corner of the map, and now I have to drop all my Psy Storms to deal with Locust. Yeah, that works for the first wave. What about the second? What about the third? What about the fourth? It's just, you can't do that as Protoss.
Roddy, I'm at a loss. We were talking about ShoWTimE and his strengths being his defense. With this game number 2 strategy, I feel like everything we said gets thrown a little bit for a loop. It's like if you hang back and defend and all of a sudden 20 Swarm hosts show up, you might just lose that game as well. He's in a tough spot.
It's a scouting issue, of course, right? He needs to be more on top of that. He needs to see there's no Hydra at the end of that game. He needs to see there's an infestation pit. But that's tough, because this man, he is going to throw you for a loop. He's up 2-0. Our German Zerg player, Lambo.
Team Clash deploying some of these very strong Zergs out into the scene. And his opponents needing your guys' support for a chance to come back in the series. On the lower right-hand side, it's the red Protoss ShoWTimE. The Arma team Protoss player.
The last
Protoss. Best in Europe.
The last Protoss of the tournament as well, Jeff. Now, of course, guys, the winner of this series will move on to the semi-finals to go up against Cyril, and that's normally, you know, the story that we focus on. But for Lambo, there is so much more on the line. He is currently 9th in the WCS rankings. If Lambo wins this game, he goes up to the 8th place, but he would take that spot from ZvP, who can then, of course, later take it back again if ZvP defeats Reynor. But the most important thing here for Lambo is if he wins it, he keeps his BlizzCon dreams alive. If ZvP loses and Reynor doesn't end up winning the tournament, then he's in. But there is even a chance that even when Lambo wins this, but if ZvP wins as well, and then Lambo loses against Cero, that it's still not going to be enough, because he's going to be like 20 points behind Nurcho.
The amazing thing is that both those players control their own destiny, and they're playing for it here. And it was really fun to hear them in those kind of the beginning of the day videos talking about that. And that's just what we want, that exciting scenario where these guys worked hard all year, but they get to the final stages of the WCS circuit, and it still comes down to these final matches. It's really exciting. Now, Lambo's Overlord is going to pull up here and see the usual stuff. It would be really weird for ShoWTimE to mix it up big time here now. I super agree with what Roddy said at the beginning of this match. It's going to come down to scouting, and ShoWTimE is going to need to be more on top of it. If you're going to open up with Archon drop, that's fine and good, but don't pick off an Overlord, then just go back home. It's the stuff that develops behind that strategy that's such a big deal. It was Swarm Host in Game 2, Game 3, I don't know, it could be fast lurkers, it could be just Hydra push, Hydra Ling Bailing. You just got to see that. That's stuff that ShoWTimE normally does. But Lambo's doing such a good job denying that.
And of course, if you go for the builds that ShoWTimE goes for, you can't say there's no opportunity to scout, right? Yeah. You've got a Warp Prism, you've got Archons, you can always warp in a Zealot to do. You've got Oracles, you can just tag a base, put a Revelation on it and see what spawns. And if it's nothing, if it's just Overlords and drones, you're like, hey, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to build Hydras in this phase in the game? And obviously, if you see things in time, the game can play out completely different. Right. Because then ShoWTimE can be like, well, wait a minute, you have 10 Roaches while I've got 3 Immortals, Archons, Storms, and Zealots. Why am I defending right now? This is when I should be out on the map, because that actually is not that intimidating to go up against.
Yep. And of course, it's just to mention it, it should almost never have to be mentioned, but just to say it, it's easier said than done. I mean, the Queens in the tall grass picked off the Oracle last game, and then Lambo did everything he could to zone out the Warp Prism last game. It's just that ShoWTimE, that's got to be the objective. He's got to fight for that information.
I know that it's not really his style, like we said in the beginning of the series already, but on Acid Plant, I really wouldn't hate a second Stargate out of ShoWTimE.
Okay.
With the way that the first 2 games have played out, now, of course, that's a stylistic thing, guys, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what people say is good. What matters is if you feel good with it. Yeah, there you have it. Okay, second Stargate. I'm very happy to see that. I am not sure how comfortable ShoWTimE truly is with this kind of stuff, but after the first 2 games, he's obviously guessing too much. He's in the dark. Why not force out a different game? Because when you play this style as Protoss, you're telling the Zerg, like, hey, now we're doing it my way, and the only way you can truly deal with this is by making a whole bunch of Hydras, which reaches a later stage into the game.
Right? And dictates the pace to some degree as well. Lambo's going to see this showing up here. You know what the other nice thing about that second Stargate is actually in the first 2 games, Lambo never really dove an Overlord into the main base. He gets the first one picked off, and then I think, yeah, he relies on the Zerglings patrolling on the outside to give him word that it's going to be something different. He does not like to sacrifice a second Overlord. So there's going to be a huge chunk of time here where ShoWTimE, who's shown Robo twice and is kind of known for that, is going to actually mix things up, and it's going to be Lambo that gets the late information this time.
Love that little Zergling as well. It's going to spot these adepts. I know this doesn't seem like a big deal, guys, but if 3 adepts show up in the mineral line and you didn't see them coming to the other side of the map, you're going to end up losing 5 or 6 drones very, very quickly. And that's something that Phoenixes, for instance, have to work quite hard for. Now, ShoWTimE does go up to 3 bases. He's banking up those Phoenixes. I think Lambo's probably wondering, like, you know, I've still got my Lynx there. I haven't seen a Prism leave yet. Should I be worried about something? I think he's reading it all right, because look at the amount of drones that he's going into. This is way more than in any other game. There is not a single game where Lambo didn't make at least Roaches in this phase. So I think Lambo, even though by seeing very little, kind of has put 2 and 2 together already, and I think he knows what's up.
Oh, well, Kevin, I don't think so, actually.
Well, that could be for Corruptors. Some people generally believe that Corruptors are good against Phoenixes. I kind of disagree with that statement because I believe that if you're a Protoss player and you spot this, you get +1 air weapons immediately and you throw it on a fleet beacon. And you're like, you want to make Corruptors? That's fine. I'm going to get Phoenix range and Phoenix upgrades. But there are still Zergs that say, no, that doesn't matter. Corruptors are good against Phoenix.
Well, the reason I actually hate this for Lambo, and again, maybe he goes on to win this game, he's on 3 bases. He's not even trying to take a 4th base just yet. And a Spire and a Hydra Den now, by the way, as well. One of those 2 techs is essentially dead off of 3 bases. You can't make Hydras and Corruptors, not to any significant number anyways. And I feel like if you do, you're basically forfeiting any strength between those 2. Now, it's going to be double robo behind this. And is the Spire Scout? I didn't see if you saw that.
No, he hasn't seen it yet, but he hasn't seen the Hydra Den yet either. Now, what he does see is nothing but Queens and no gas units, not even a couple of Roaches. So obviously, you have to ask yourself as a Protoss, now he starts +1 air weapons. And I don't have the feeling that he would have done this if he doesn't expect a Spire. Because +1 air weapons is just amazing against Corruptors. You have to be careful with the Phoenixes, though. The RS is phenomenal. 14 drones going down. That's obviously really good. But you have to keep the Phoenix count up.
Yep. Twilight Council behind this as well as the Forge, so you can have the access to Archons, which is huge if he does go crazy on the Corruptors. And then we are seeing the Corruptors starting to come out here.
And Carapace, by the way, Jeff. So he's absolutely planning on making more than just a couple of Corruptors. And if you don't have +1 air weapons on your Phoenix and Corruptors have Carapace, they're never going down. Like, your Phoenix just do nothing. So that's why, of course, Phoenixes shoot twice. So while normal units normally get like a +1, if you get +1 air weapons, Phoenixes technically get +2 because they shoot twice. So that's a really big deal.
And the 4th base, of course, is about to actually finish for Lambo, so it's not like some kind of crazy Corruptor all in, which doesn't actually exist. Queens do a pretty good job zoning out the Phoenix. Every time they show up, they did get a decent number of drone kills, but they took quite a bit of damage for it as well.
Well, how do you feel about the Void Race?
I like it. I mean, I understand they're not actually that great, but if Corruptors is the answer, 4 to 6 Void Rays mid-map, win the fight, and then when the Corruptors turn and try to run, the Phoenix can actually chase him down. It can make a bad situation terrible for the Zerg player.
I have the feeling that ShoWTimE is mostly using these Void Rays to make sure he doesn't lose a Nexus. He's going to be like, hey, I did a serious amount of economic damage. You stayed on 3 bases for quite some time. Obviously, Lambo's on 4 now, but I know that, you know, this is not bad for me. I just want to make sure that it doesn't go bad by losing a Nexus against that caustic spray from the Corruptors. So in that way, I can get behind it, but I just never like Void Rays. They're slow, they're clunky, they're easy to out-micro as a Zerg player. I don't know, I have mixed feelings about it, but for ShoWTimE, he has one mission, and that's make damn sure he never loses a Nexus.
Well, here we go. Void Rays and Phoenix gonna try and see what this battle looks like. They're sizing each other up.
Yeah, so Lambo looks at that, and he's like, whoa, you've got Void Rays? Going for the Forge, interesting choice.
He's never going to get it. It was always going to cost him at least 1 Corruptor. I don't know that I like this choice at all. Now, he is kiting backwards. Actually, the overcharge on the Void Rays means they can't contribute to this fight. I think no Phoenix died in that fight, so it ends up being okay. The unfortunate thing is the Void Rays could have chased off and killed another Corruptor or 2 had they not done that move.
And now we're getting ready for a Wings of Liberty army composition, Jeff, with a bunch of Immortals, Void Rays, and Storm. The only thing that's missing is a Colossus or 2 to really...
How did that work out in Wings of Liberty?
Really good.
What? Get out of here.
What? You want to say that you were losing games in Wings of Liberty with Void Ray Immortal Storm?
The only time I was winning games. No. Yeah, no. I thought you were talking about the Zerg.
No, I like the
Corruptor and Ground Army is just not very good. Another Oracle does die in the background of this. And Lambo, again, very much so committed. He's maxed out. He's got Hydras behind this, and that's the dangerous part of this army.
Do we have Storm?
But there's so many shield batteries already here. The Corruptors do not contribute with those Void Rays zoning out. They're going to go ahead and chop down some sloppy Phoenixes, but as time goes on, the army of the Protoss, as Roddy pointed out, becomes so powerful.
Still a couple of force fields to fall back on as well. The Queens are just confused here. They're like, we can never make it through those force fields. Loving all the shield batteries here for ShoWTimE as well. He's still down in supply, but I'm really loving this Protoss army, and I'm loving his defensive position. This is the wall that we always talk about, Jeff.
Now, a 5th base is being taken behind this. I believe that's one of the gold bases on this map. You rarely see it taken. And the thing about this is if this fight turns sour for Lambo, he's dead, right? Like, his army is a very mid-game committed army, but the bases are all in the middle of the map.
Now, what ShoWTimE has to be very careful of is I don't think we're going to see that, but I don't want to see him lose all of his Phoenixes, because then what happens if Lambo goes into like 15 Mutalisks only and forces a weird base trading game? Because, I mean, Void Rays are simply not very good against Mutas, of course.
No. Now, keep in mind, ShoWTimE is still just on 3 bases. He's taking this 4th base. They're expanding towards each other. And Lambo wants to fight here. He's going to come in. The creep has actually allowed him access to this 4th base. Nexus immediately is canceled. Zealots are going to actually retreat away from this fight. I think that's the right call. They're getting further away from creep and more towards the shield batteries. A strong defensive position. Also, Storm about to finish. Now, when a lot of this army is Hydras, Queens, Lings, Storm becomes absolutely devastating.
ShoWTimE had Storm on the way before. You could see that he was truly worried about that attack because he must have canceled it. Now, ShoWTimE is going to be like, you know what? I really don't like that position. Great move by Lambo, of course, getting a cancel on that fourth base. That really wasn't easy, but he did some nice dancing back and forth. Now he's going to try to run down this ramp, but with Storm finishing up, this is going to be a lot more difficult. Lambo, you're going to have to be very, very careful.
He's just down there. He's going for it. I think he sees the Templar. I guess he's underrating Storm, but here comes the Psionic Storm. One shot on the left now. The whole army's coated with it, and the Void Ray is doing so much damage. Immortals not really being touched. The supply plummets for Lambo as ShoWTimE's just kind of remains rock solid. Zealot's going to jump into the middle mass of this army. An insignificant number of Corruptors, Hydras, basically everything, and he's retreating to the bases.
Insane amount of Hydras being reproduced for Lambo. 32, that's not something I see very often. So that's 64 supply of Hydras, but they're coming in from all angles. And that's obviously a problem here for our German Zerg. He's going to end up losing 5-6 Hydras immediately on the right side. Those Immortals did a phenomenal job for ShoWTimE, and Lambo, for the first time in this series, is in trouble.
Really nice army control here as the Immortals do get their kind of whole flank shown, and the Hydras come up, but there's no insulation, as Roddy pointed out. Now the Phoenix back in the fight, picking up some Hydras, and they die for free. The gold base was found because of those reinforcements. Supply advantage now for ShoWTimE, and he's going to devastate that base, and he's looking for more. He's just been winning every fight. I can't see anything else but a Protoss victory here.
Lambo obviously had money, but if you make 32 Hydras, the bank goes away.
It's gone, yeah.
Very, very quickly, no matter how rich you are. He's going to make 10, 11 more. Now, of course, on creep, he can maybe dance out of those storms a little bit better, and there is a chance that the fight goes slightly better, but the Immortal count is still very healthy for the German Protoss.
A nice strategic play from ShoWTimE. He knows he's way ahead, but instead of just A-moving and potentially fighting a fight that could turn against him, he's waiting to kind of pinch it down a little bit, get rid of those Spore Crawlers, warp in some extra units, and he's giving his Templar time to get Storm.
Yeah, especially the last part is very important. He's like, I really don't want to go too deep on creep without Storm. Now these High Templars are going to show up. They're going to push the Hydras back, land the Storm right in the back of the army. I'm loving it. I really think ShoWTimE has done it here. These Immortals are not going to fall against just a couple of Hydras. He is pulling back, still pulling it safe, but with the reinforcements coming in, you gotta love it.
He's up 50 supply, and Lambo's running out of stuff to use. GG, and we're going to go to game number 4 as ShoWTimE does strike back off some nice tech switches there, countering the moves of Lambo and getting that information, Rotterdam, something we talked about.
Yep, and that's why the double target is so good as well, right? If you're just guessing too much with the traditional openings, if you feel your opponent makes it too hard for you to figure out what's going on, why not make a bunch of Phoenixes and see what you end up with?
Well, nice play here. We're having a great series. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, it'll be game number 4 of this best of 5. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just now joining us, it's a 2-1 score for Lambo going up against ShoWTimE here. Lambo needing some win and perhaps more to get himself to BlizzCon. ShoWTimE, of course, will be at BlizzCon, which is going to be fantastic. He had a really good win against Beyond a year or two ago. That was 2 years ago now, I think, actually.
Yep. Yeah, last year he missed out on the global finals to the big surprise of everyone. Last year just was not the year of ShoWTimE. Of course, 2016, he had a great run, made it into the quarterfinals back then, where he lost against Elaser. But now he's back, and we're obviously very excited to see what he's going to do in Anaheim at the end of the year. But for now, he's still in the running to perhaps do something great in Montreal as well, Jeff.
Well, if anyone can get in the way of Cyril and snag for themselves a major tournament win like this, that'd be pretty big. Now, Roddy, I'm going to ask you a question, of course, doesn't have a true answer necessarily. Games number 1 and 2, you go with the Robo, Archon drop, that kind of default play. It's not that that in and of itself is not what worked out, but it ended up being losses for ShoWTimE. Game number 3, he goes for that double Stargate. Do you go double Stargate again, or do you return to what is your tried and true strategy in game number 4 here?
Dreamcatcher plays out differently, I think, than Acid Plant does. I think this is a map where, in general, Force Fields can be a little bit more effective as well. So I wouldn't hate to see ShoWTimE go back to what he was doing in game 1. But instead of doing it with 6 gateways, why not do it with 4? Why not be okay with throwing away a couple of Zealots, and I'm not talking about 18, but have your War Prism, have your Archons, and just a couple of Zealots to make sure you keep track of what is actually happening. You see Hydras pop, you know what's up, be careful with your Zealots. You see a lot of Roaches pop, you know what's up. If you don't see anything pop, maybe warp in a few more Zealots and see if you can really rack up that damage. I don't think this is a map where you have to go double Stargate. It's absolutely not bad, don't get me wrong. This is one of the maps where even the Koreans like to do it. But I wouldn't mind to see ShoWTimE do what I think he's best at, and that's War Prism, Zealots, Archons, and Immortals.
All right, we're gonna have to see which way he goes here as we are in on map number 4, Dreamcatcher. In the top left-hand side from Team Clash, it's the German Zerg Lambo.
Once again, this young man has to finish above U-Thermal in this tournament if he wants to keep his BlizzCon dreams alive, and that doesn't guarantee him anything, but that's the least he needs to do.
And his opponent in the lower right-hand side, the red Protoss from Team Arma, it's ShoWTimE. A lot of exciting storylines. Now, ShoWTimE wins this one. He'll go to game number 5 for our second quarterfinal, which will be really fun, really intense. You always hope for good games, good series. I'm not going to lie.
Sometimes the very simple cheerfuls are the ones that I like the most. I don't know, that one really got me.
I didn't see it, what did it say?
It just had like it, and then it had 2 names, ShoWTimE and Lambo, and then a question, or like a check mark next to ShoWTimE.
Yeah, you know?
And it left the box empty next to it. Because it's Lambo really doesn't have a ring to it, does it?
It's ShoWTimE.
Yeah.
All right.
I like this.
Thank you for bringing that sign here.
Yeah. Seen a couple good ones.
Hopefully he wins and keeps going so you can keep using the sign. Otherwise, it doesn't make a whole lot. I mean, actually, it still is ShoWTimE after this, I suppose.
Yeah, but then you can just say it's Lambo.
It's Lambo. All right, Probe Scout going to come in here, sees the usual fixings. Lambo not going to take a big risk just yet, at least in this map. Talk a little bit about Dreamcatcher. We do have gold bases. They're a little bit peculiar to take, a little bit hard to hold. You can get to them, obviously. It's very good. But 3 bases, very achievable for the Protoss. And then kind of you have everything available to you in terms of strategies for both players, I think.
Yeah, I really think this is a map where the Sentry shines like it almost used to do in the old days. There's a lot of choke points on the north side of where ShoWTimE will most likely go up to 3 bases. Then you've got those destructible rocks that he can knock down on the left side of this Overlord here. And that's on the side of Lambo. I don't think ShoWTimE is going to knock those down too much. That one seems a little more likely. I don't know how Lambo feels about it. This obviously is a good map for Zerg to go for multi-prong as well. A couple Roaches on the north, a couple Roaches through the middle, through the rocks maybe, and coming in from the left bottom side as well to potentially strike on the 4th base. But we'll see. We'll keep a close eye on everything. There is no set way to play Dreamcatcher. It really is kind of up to the players.
And that's kind of, in my opinion, that's what you're hoping for from a map. You don't want a map that says, nope, you must go to Stargate Phoenix, because otherwise you're just playing against the map itself. This Adept's going to go across the map here and try and check in on Lambo, make sure there's not a swell of 35,000 Zerglings coming out or anything like that. Meanwhile, a Zergling does get into the main base. It's going to confirm what it probably already knew. You're almost always going to see that Stargate right there. But against Raynor, we did see Neeb go like Robo first once, Twilight Council as possible. Those are really, really weird. But confirming what you think you know is an important thing in StarCraft 2. It's that you can't just make all those assumptions.
Yep. Now, of course, the Adept is going to shade in and just wants to see the amount of drones to indeed make sure that there are not a million Zerglings out there. Now, of course, Zerg
like
players
a fast +1 or something.
Zerg players can get very tricky every now and then. Sometimes they'll transfer drones from the main base to the natural to make it seem like they're macroing, and then they actually all in. But that's the kind of stuff you're very worried about when you play against Bly or any NA Zerg. When you play against Lambo, you're a little less worried about those crazy builds.
Yep. The only thing I would add against that is that this would be the map for me if I'm Lambo, where I would try something super crazy.
Second Stargate again for ShoWTimE. Obviously, you can't hate it on the way that it just worked out for him in that previous map. But like I said, Dreamcatcher is very different than Asset Plant is, and I wouldn't mind Lambo to skip the Spire. I'm really not that big fan of a Spire against that double Stargate play. I really feel the way to go against it is Spore Crawlers, Queens, lots of drones, quick 4 bases, and then you make Hydras, and you make an insane amount of Hydras. I really feel that's a better way. Corruptors are expensive, and of course, if Protoss underreacts and you snipe 2 Nexi, then they are great, but in my opinion, that's never supposed to happen. I mean,
right. Yeah, I think that Spire play, for me, was definitely the pocket strategy. They're like, this is kind of weird, and maybe this will throw you off. But ShoWTimE showed that he was just not willing to be confused by that. It did not work out the way Lambo wanted it to. I doubt that he's just like, every time I see double Stargate, I absolutely go Spire Corruptor here with Hydras.
Now, Roach 1 gets thrown down already. In the previous game, Lambo completely skipped that Roach 1 because I had the feeling that he was very sure it was double Stargate quite early on. This game, I don't think he's that sure because you obviously don't want to make Roaches against a mass Phoenix play unless you make nothing but Roaches and Lynx, something that Serral did in his grand finals against Mana and was actually somehow successful with it. But in general, you want to be very careful with that because that means as a Zerg player, if you fail one attack where you make 12 Roaches, you have nothing at home, you have no economy at home, and it's almost impossible to ever get the right amount of Hydras out.
7 more drones queued up here, so we will be well over 60 drones, and now it's going to be Roaches, and I feel like it's that, like, 64, 65 drones, and then nothing but Roaches.
I really feel it's the Zerglings that give Lambo the tell that it's safe for him to go up to a higher drone count. He keeps those Lynx on patrol. These are the Serral Zerglings, as we always say. Like, Serral was one of the very first Zergs to do that, always put them on patrol. And if you don't see a Prism leave, you're like, that probably means that it's double Stargate. Now, it does make a couple of Roaches now, but this is of 64 drones. That's way higher than Zerg players normally go. Zerg players often start at 54, 55. If they really want to be safe, it's a little bit around 50 or even in the deep 40s. But this is a very, very economic opening for Lambo. First Roaches of 64 drones, that's completely okay.
And this is going to catch him off by surprise. The Adepts actually paved a way up the middle of the map, making sure Zerglings did not see the Phoenix, and they were only spotted over here at the main base.
Now, what I would have really liked from Lambo is to see him squeeze out a drone quickly and go up to 4 bases. I don't think you have to worry about anything ever taking down that 4th base, and it's just nice to have it. I'm not saying you have to saturate it. I'm not saying that you have to protect that mineral line as well.
Just started.
Yes, you just want to have that hatchery down.
I do agree with you. 7 more drones queued up here as well to kind of shore up the losses. But these Phoenix are going to show up to this mineral line. There's just the one Spore Crawler in Queen. The big huddle of Queens is at that natural. So they're able to pick up a drone or 2 here pretty freely. Now, good information for ShoWTimE. The weird thing for him that is developing is he's not seeing any Hydra tech, and he hasn't spotted any Spire. So in his mind, there at least has to be this weird thought that it once again could be Spire. And that's why he's going to make a deep dive here and check. And now 9 Hydras queued up. So Larva was saved up here a little bit for Lambo.
Yep. These Phoenix are in an awkward position. They're not trapped, but there's a lot of Spore Crawlers. Lambo has played this very well. I really love the triple Spore. 2 Queens here. And sure, he's still going to end up losing a couple of drones, but he made so many drones. He almost overmade drones because he obviously knew that it's inevitable. You're going to lose a couple of drones. That 4th base has been started, but to me, it's a little bit later. And I do see that infestation pit, but I don't think this is not a Swarmos game.
It really shouldn't be.
No.
The Phoenix are fantastic against that kind of tech.
It could just be for a quick hive and maybe Lurkers.
It is,
talents.
I think. It has to be, and I actually don't like it, though. He's doing it at the same time as building up the Hydras. I mean, again, he could end up winning with this, and what do I know? But for me, in my spot, I'm going to speculate, and I would just say that it's a little bit ambitious considering the 4th is going to be late. Queen struggles out here.
One thing I would like to point out is that I feel the creep spread of Lambo should have been a little bit better. Because one of the weaknesses of this double Stargate play is that you don't have a War Prism with 2 Archons and an Observer flying around, pushing back that creep. Phoenixes are terrible in dealing with creep. They simply can't. They can't do anything. So I really feel that Lambo's creep spread should have been further forward at multiple angles, rather than just this highway throughout the middle.
So far, that Infestation Pit doing nothing. It's just going to be pure Hydras behind this. The upgrades are synchronizing here. It's going to be Bailing Speed alongside this as well. And Storm's queued up at the same time as the 4th base. I still really like ShoWTimE's position so far.
I don't hate it either.
Workers, he's not that far behind. Army, they're about dead even. 4th base timing is obviously a little bit behind Lambo, but if it was anything other than that, it'd be super bad for Lambo.
Wow, Swarm
and now it is Swarm Host, and that's a peculiar choice for me. Again, with the Phoenix count this high, they can hit the Locust in the air, they can pick up the Swarm Host themselves. I guess they become a siege-type unit behind the Hydras, but that's very one-dimensional. If the fight turns sour and the Phoenix help in that fight again, then all of a sudden you're getting chased back and you've got these dead Swarm Hosts.
I'm very confused as well, curious to see how it plays out. Now, of course, it is important for ShoWTimE to keep these Phoenixes alive, because that's the best thing he has in dealing with these Locusts. If he flies around a second longer, I think he might be able to spot the first Swarm Host as well. Oh my goodness. He's taking damage, but now he sees them, and that's already big. We mentioned the lack of scouting in Game 1 and Game 2.
He's going to get some kills.
I mean, ShoWTimE is really on top of it.
Now, the Hydras do come back here and obviously make this cost something, but as Roddy just pointed out, even just scouting that is a very big deal. Should see some Archons added to the mix, but at least the Templar already with Storm. A lot of shield batters acting as kind of a joiner between these two bases.
Would you love, like there is a fleet beacon already. I would love to see him start carriers. I know that he's broke right now and he's making cannons and immortals, I get that. But I feel this is a perfect carrier game. Instead, ShoWTimE fires up the mothership, which I know the pros are a fan of and ShoWTimE loves it. I personally would love to see him use the Stargates a little more in this phase of the game rather than that mothership.
Nice reveal. I personally disagree. I like the mothership here and I think carriers is too aggressive. If the Locusts get on top of you, you can lose this whole army and just lose the game. But here we go. The first wave is going to come forward. It's unaided. The force fields make sure the Hydras are not coming through. So a couple of units will die here, and that's, of course, not ideal.
It's not bad, to be honest. The first wave, all the Phoenixes are here, all these shield batteries. He got 2 immortals. That's not bad at all for Lambo.
It's not bad, but for my money, the tech itself needs to do a lot. Like, I actually just don't like the tech very much. Oh, but the Storm. Oh, my goodness. The Templar almost died there to the Banelings. And now it is just the Hydras. The reveal is off, but this spot is kind of well known. He knows that Lambo's making this his base camp.
Now ShoWTimE queued up his first carrier while just making more immortals. So it's going to be carrier, immortal, mothership, storm.
No defection
of course,
here.
That is the dream army. Indeed, that observer is massive. Let's see if this second wave of Locusts can get something done. It's so many Locusts. It's going to dive on the 4th base, and that will absolutely get it, right?
Well, with the shield batters, it gets kind of weird. As long as he can...
Locusts are sick.
He has to click the building. He's not going to, though. Wow, massive stasis ward up there, though, and that's the Hydras that do protect us. Now, remember, if the Hydras die, the Phoenix can actually just go pick up all the Swarm Hosts, and you're talking about like 60 supply of units just dying for free. He does get the Nexus, does Lambo, and the mothership pops out. There's no detection here. I need to reiterate that. It's a big deal for the observer, but it's a bigger deal with the mothership. This army is invisible and thus invincible until some detection shows up.
Yep, 3 overseers morphing. These Zealots are doing serious work on this hatchery in the right top side of the map, and Lambo is not going to be able to save it. That's a very nice pickoff for ShoWTimE, because it really wasn't for much. This doesn't cripple the economy of Lambo by any means, because Lambo does have money in the bank and he's maxed out. But just 2 Zealots randomly getting a hatch, hey, you'll take that as a Protoss anytime.
Every day, man. All the time. Now his army shows up again. Excuse me, yeah, those are just Swarm Hosts. They're by themselves. They're going to dump off their Locusts in kind of a panic, but they can't see anything here. The Hydras show up. They're going to go after the mothership itself. Storm's coating most of this. There's the Overseers, but the fight's already turned pretty sour for our Zerg player. He's going to pile in on this, though, and the Phoenix can make this retreat really costly as they pick up some Hydras, and now the Overseers that stayed behind are going to die as well. And, you know, Lambo's got a bank. He's got units to reinforce. But, Roddy, a few more fights like that, and you're only on the 4 bases, it can get really bad.
Well, Lambo's bank is very deceiving because he has a lot of minerals, and it always looks like someone is rich, but he really doesn't have a lot of gas. So if he takes another fight like that, he's actually going to have to make Zerglings against carriers. And that's not a position that any Zerg ever wants to be in. It really felt like the Swarmos were not as effective this game. The Phoenixes are very, very confident. They go very far forward. Not sure about this move. Good Storm on the right side, though. I mean, ShoWTimE is getting very aggressive here.
A little aggressive. He's getting fully surrounded by the Zerg. This army's not that big. It's got a lot of Storm, but it doesn't have much else. The Storms are everywhere. Mothership getting low in health. It pulls back, though. There's no focus on it, and a lot of the Hydras have actually been pushed back. A costly fight for ShoWTimE, though. He does survive it, but he can't take... I mean, well, here's the thing. He can because the Zerg's still on 4 bases. I was about to talk about how bad this is for ShoWTimE, and it wasn't super great, but he's on equal bases. He can afford that.
I thought that was going to be worse for ShoWTimE, but the way that ShoWTimE pulled back, the way that those Hydras just had to eat those Storms, that was magnificent, because that really could have gone a lot worse, but he had the right amount of Storm. In the end, in my eyes, that was a big victory for ShoWTimE.
Yeah,
because Lambo has no more gas. He just spent all of it. Now he's making Zerglings. Those are the links that I talked about.
And his anti-air is not great. The carrier count's not super high, but there's only like 9 or 10 Hydras there and a few more joining in. The Locust getting some good damage in, though. And the first Overseer will die. I think we might have missed it, but the Mothership is dead.
The High Templars against the Locust. 2, 3 High Templars go down. And what goes for Lambo also goes for ShoWTimE. He doesn't have much gas either.
All the Hydras are here. They're in between the 2 bases. There's a Warp in his Zealots, but they're inside the fight zone. And ShoWTimE is starting to take some serious losses. Lambo pouring it on. He's down 16 workers, but it just doesn't even matter. He's just winning the fight. Another carry just dies over there. There's a recall of something coming here.
Oh, no.
And that's it. Lambo taps out. Or excuse me, Lambo wins. It's ShoWTimE that taps out. Holy Toledo, that turned so fast.
That was the last amount of Hydras that Lambo was going to work with for a while. He was making links behind it. There was no more gas. That fight, that Locust getting on top of the High Templars. Not a single Storm was given in that very final fight. And damn, like, that was so close, actually, guys. You were a minute away from ShoWTimE stabilizing, having 5, 6 carriers, having Storm and New Mothership, and he would have been completely fine. I really felt that was the last wave he had to survive.
And he fought defending a 5th base. If he's over by the like 6 or 7 shield batteries and cannons, and he's not spread out, I don't think he loses that fight. But you know what? It's neither here nor there. On stage with our winner is Lambo and Sue.
Thank you very much, guys. Congratulations, Lambo. You're back in that round of 4, back in WCS Austin. That was your first time in that top 4, and here you are back once again. What does this mean for you?
It means a lot, but I have Cyril next, and I have to beat him, maybe, to advance to BlizzCon. And last time I was here in the round of 4 in Austin, I had good chances against Cyril. And this tournament, I feel like he looks more beatable than ever. So I think, yeah, I'm going to try my best to beat him.
You just said that Cyril looked more beatable than ever. So what are the little differences that you're noticing compared to the last time that you faced him?
I think everyone just got a bit better, and Cyril seemed very shaky, a bit undecisive in a series against Scarlet, overly safe, and he just made a couple of early game mistakes. He even lost the map to Jon Snow, maybe could have even lost 2, so yeah, I think this time usually he just gets here without losing a single map, so this time is different.
And I can't move on without also asking, of course, about this series against ShoWTimE. It started off so clean and decisive from you, clean 2-0, and then it did start to look a little bit rockier with ShoWTimE taking that 3rd map, and then this last map on Dreamcatcher was a little bit back and forth, so talk to us about the series.
Yeah, the first 2 maps went my way. I had Snap prepare for those maps, and I had a good counter for his Archon drop in general, so I felt good about that. I also had the Corruptor against the Phoenix, and I didn't really lose anything in the early game, so game 3 also went my way, and then all of a sudden it didn't anymore because he actually found a really good counter to my style. So I had to switch it up, so I went for Swarm Host. And even that didn't go too well, first of all, but then I managed to get the surround in the middle of the map, and that sealed the deal.
Now, last question for you. I know that you are a player that really likes to study your opponent and sort of prepare against him. How do you prepare for someone like Cyril? I know you said that at this event, he does look more beatable than ever. There are things that you notice, but how do you prepare against the 3-time WCS champion?
Well, Cyril is the only player that you can't really prepare for because he plays reactive, and he just scouts so well that he doesn't have that many holes in his play, simply. But I think I can find a weakness or 2, and I hope to play well.
Love to hear it. Well, congratulations again. Best of luck in that semifinal rematch against Cyril, just like it was back in Austin. Nathanius, back to you.
Thank you very much, Smix. Lambo cruises past ShoWTimE with a smooth 3-1 victory here and really showing some dominant performance in this match.
Those first 2 maps especially, just so decisive from Lambo. As he said, he had something prepared. It felt like he almost knew what ShoWTimE was going to do. shutting down, of course, that first Archon charge dot attack and just bouncing back across the map. You know, he was very prepared. The Swarm hosts coming out and just crushing it. It looked almost easy in the first 2 maps. I was happy that ShoWTimE did manage to rally there, but in the end, overextended a little bit on that last map.
Yeah, that was kind of heartbreaking. It seemed like he was building his wall back up, you know, when he finally defended the 3rd game, and it was looking strong for the 4th, and then it really seemed like it was just the one mistake. Otherwise, he's in a great position.
Tough situation to be put in. We were talking about it in that last game, watching that mothership fly away, get blown up. It's very expensive unit.
You know, it was incredible, though, that Lambo managed to make it happen with just Hydras there. It was this awkward position where it's like, oh, there's so much Storm, there's carriers, there's the mothership, but Hydra's flanked in from all sides. You know, ShoWTimE thought he'd caught the Swarm host, and it was almost a trap. Lambo flanked him, and that was just good poise by Lambo. I think his ability to stay confident and decisive, even when the game felt like it was shifting back into ShoWTimE's favor, it's confidence that's got Lambo this far, and it's confidence that I think makes him look like one of the favorites almost to go through to the grand finals.
And like we said, that means he is now in the semi-finals. We got an updated bracket. Ladies and gentlemen, Lambo talking about how Cyril has bled this tournament. He has not been bulletproof making his way here to the semis. And on the other side of the bracket, of course, we've got Time and Hero Marine coming up, then Euthermal and Raynor. But Lambo's words of confidence against Cyril. I mean, we know that he's confident. He has taken 2 maps off of him. They played in the finals of WCS Europe Challenger. He was up 2-0 against Cyril and then lost 4 maps in a row because Cyril is a beast. How do we feel about that?
I think he's been close a few times. Even back in Austin, Lambo had 1 map win and a few very close maps against Cyril. So I think he's definitely one of the best Zerg vs. Zerg players. When I look at the way Lambo plays, there's a mixture of clever play, similar to what we saw from Scarlet this morning. You know, lots of very kind of technical openings, so strategic play, but he also feels just rock solid in a standard game. So Lambo is, in my mind, the 2nd best Zerg vs. Zerg player behind Cyril. I think he's got the best shot to take him down.
Yeah, really, with everything, you know, he said about Cyril and his performance at this tournament, it's like I said at the beginning, it was Scarlet and Neve that could potentially take Cyril down, but it's really going on that Lambo hype train, man. I believe every word he said.
All right, well, our next match is going to be a Terran versus Terran. Our schedule is right here, as you can see. We've got our first results coming in, but then we'll be going into our semis right after we finish the quarterfinals. Cyril against Lambo should be an awesome match. With that being said, we're going to go to a break. When we return, some TVT memes here at WCS Montreal.